executing. And every annotation I'm talking about and showing, if I'm talking about how a fair value gap should be, it would be optimal for it to stay open and not close. I'm using that either as a breakaway gap. These are the two primary functions, okay? Either I'm treating it as a breakaway gap and it should not close fully, meaning like this gap here. Let me draw it in. Man, I should have charged admission today. This is too good for the books. This gap here, it should stay open to be optimal. That means it's the best case scenario to see this stay open. I would say that about this one regardless, because it would be treated as a breakaway gap. Why? Because this over here is a balanced price range and it's in equilibrium. And the body supporting that idea is seen here. Then we see price moving here, and then we have this big extrapolation, but yet to take out this high. So this is the draw. This is where price would want to reach up to because there's real liquidity above here. What kind of liquidity? Buy side. This gap is moving quickly away from all this consolidation around equilibrium based on that balanced price range. And I know some of your heads are swirling right now, like, what the hell is he talking about? Example after example, spend time with me. Every time there's a balanced price range, I will bring your attention to it, okay? I do it in live executions. I talk about it in advance. I talk about it in tweets. I talk about it in reviews, okay? The more time you see it, the more exposure you'll have to it. But for a breakaway gap, and some of you thought I'd never get to this topic, huh? A breakaway gap is expected to form when, for instance, say we're bullish on a market, and you have identified a key level that would support as, or be presented as support, and that is acting as a discount array. Balanced price range at equilibrium. That's one of the PD arrays that is not taught in the mentorship core content, where I show you the PD array matrix and I give you a spectrum of where they are. A balanced price range can exist in any place in a discount or a premium. So there's no real definitive place where they work in an hierarchy, whereas the hierarchy I show you in the PD array matrix, the ones that are there, that is a static, that is very finite. They nest in that order. But there are other PD arrays, like this one I'm showing you here, and like event horizon. Those things can exist in any range of that spectrum, which we define as a discount or a premium. Okay, so, and if you're brand new, that just completely went over your head, but I promise you, dig into the content and it's there. Don't try to think you're going to learn how to do all this stuff right away. And you don't need to know everything. You don't need to know a fair value gap that stays open. You don't need that to be profitable. But I'm making it available to folks that want to know everything that I'm willing to share. So you asked, I'm teaching you how to do it. So even if this didn't have this gap over here that creates a balanced price range between these two fair value gaps, the fact that it does this move here and creates the fair value gap, notice there is no gap here. All through here until this candle forms, no gap is there. Everything is efficiently delivered. Every previous high is touched. Every previous high is touched. This one goes outside the range of it and even goes deeper. But then you have this big extrapolation to the upside. So this gap here, even if this wasn't here as a fair value gap, this gap that's shaded here, I'm being conscious of whether or not this live stream's keeping up with, because I noticed the one on the 13th when I was moving my cursor around, what I was talking about wasn't showing on my cursor. So I'm hoping that's not the case here. But the one that's shaded, let's put it that way, I would treat that regardless of the gap on the other side here. Whether that's there or not, this is classified to me as a breakaway gap. Meaning that a breakaway gap, I don't want to see it completely close in. It can come back down to half of it, but because there's a balanced price range here, I wouldn't want to see even half of it traded to. So then you would see me say, I want to see this trade, remain open. It would be optimal for this to remain open. But the very next candle here, the same thing. You would expect it to do what? You can see it open, and then the previous candle's high over here, overlapping this one, that would be otherwise a fair value gap if this wouldn't make the low as it did here.